So here we go, round robin 3, race 2. It's Rossa PRADA Pirelli against Ineos Team UK. Strong crowds on the land in the America's Cup village. But how strong are the winds today? Kenny Reid and Nathan Outteridge, because they look quite relaxed out there, both teams.
Well, I don't think they're relaxed even in a little bit right now. It's breezy again. And the capsize, we keep talking about the capsize. We're going to have to leave the capsize, Nathan, at some stage. But it's got to be fresh on the minds of all these guys. As they're ripping around at Mach 20 around the race course, they have to be thinking, hey, how much of this is preservation of the assets at the same time, preservation of the people? It's got to be a little mixed message right now on board, maybe.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. You know Ben Ainsley, you know Jimmy Spittle, Francesco Bruni. These guys are true racers, and for them, I think that was a week ago, and the wind is different direction. We don't have those frontal systems coming through. It's southwest. It's puffy and patchy out there. I've been following observations here, and we've been chatting with Shirley before the start, and it's anywhere between 12 and 18 knots. So it's going to be a tactician's race, I think, this one.
When we talk about tacticians, the last time these two raced was an 18-second win to Ineos Team UK back in round robin 2, race number 2, and that was the one we called, or you guys called. That was Giles Scott's race.
It was Giles Scott's race for sure. Their afterguard is set up, and it's talked about around the world of sailing right now, how the different afterguards are set up on all the different boats. These guys have very purposely kept him away from any sort of grinding or physical duties, so his eyes are outside the boat 100% of the time. It's definitely come into play in these shifty conditions because we're sailing up near the land all the time, and it's really kind of makes sense if you think about it.
And that's what Ben Ainsley said at the press conference about the design of Britannia and where their grinders were, compromising 2 grinders. So quote, I think the quote was to get Giles' head out of the boat.
Well, we all know, Nathan, right? The tactician has a hard time if they can't see the water. And seeing the water, and for those non-sailors, seeing the water, you can actually see puffs. And if you really get down to it, you can actually see the direction of a puff coming on the water. It's not as invisible as you would think, and these guys are the best in the world at it.
Rossa PRADA Pirelli will have port entry. They're allowed to enter at 2 minutes and 10 seconds into the starting area. And this is where it'll be arms out, Nathan. I'm really looking forward to this battle here prior to the start.
Yeah, the pre-start is always where the best action is. That's where the boats go toe-to-toe, and that's where they're going to be fighting for a particular end of the line. You know, we as commentators are in the box. We don't know which end of the line's favoured, but I bet you they have game plans, and we'll bring you the pictures and we'll tell you what we think, but these guys are the ones who are racing, and we'll be listening to hear what their thoughts are for the race.
What's your gut, Nathan? Do you think this is a little punch out in the pre-start? Do you think they stay away from each other and try to play out?
I don't think they're staying away from each other in this one.
Pressure coming on now.
Rossa PRADA Pirelli into the starting area in this critical setup for round robin 3, race number 2. They need to win.
Race Yacht, this is the race committee. We will be postponing the start. Stand by for further instructions.
Cancel the race. Copy.
Ready. Okay, board down.
Cancel the race.
Turning. Got it.
So we just heard on board the race director's boat that they are even though the boats came into the starting area, they have the ability to postpone the start. It looks like there was a big wind shift to the right, Nathan, and they think this course would have been too skewed.
Yeah, big right-hand shift means that when you go up the course on starboard, take off the line, you're almost laying the top mark. So, you know, the goal of the race officer here, Ian Murray, is to keep the boat square to the breeze, and sure, it's pretty shifty out there. Is that big right-hand shift evident across the whole course?
Yeah, Nathan, it's really shifting. In the last 10 minutes, it's taken a big dive to the right-hand side at least sort of 20 degrees. And Ian Murray's been trying to get the course lined up, trying to move those top marks to the right-hand side of the course. but they're just not in position yet. I don't think this will be a long delay. You know, he's nearly there, but absolutely the right call. The wind's also picked up a bit now. It's probably 16, 18 knots, and as it's got a bit sunnier, it feels a little bit stronger out here.
You do feel like, quote, the wind has been taken out of your sails when you get a postponement just as a boat's about to enter the pre-start area. I mean, the anticipation on all of these teams, particularly the helmsmen, must have been incredibly immense.
Well, it seems like forever since we saw a boat race, you know, and we all know what we have been talking about for the past week for all the right reasons, but boat race is a boat race. Let's go. I totally understand what Ian Murray is doing here. He's trying to make a fair racetrack for all involved, and we'll get to it. We'll get to it very shortly. These things usually take not too long to kind of move that top gate over to the right and start it back up again.
There is Ineos, Team UK, Britannia, Ben Ainsley on the helm, and they must be champing at the bit. They are basically one real win and a ghost win away from going straight to the PRADA Cup final. And all those 3 years, Kenny, of just money spent, hundreds of thousands of hours on boat design, boat building, just the whole 9 yards, is sitting. They're on the cusp.
Well, 3 years is a long time for all these projects. Who would have guessed a month ago that we would be talking about this boat being undefeated and ready to be the top seed going into the PRADA Cup finals? It's an incredible feat in its own right.
Shirley, what's up with Ineos right now?
Well, I don't think anything's up with them, Stephen, but I'm hearing a lot of chat from on board about changing the jib. As you spotted, the wind has got up a bit, and the window for each of the jib choices is really small. It's really fine. So they're trying to work out if they've got enough time to change the jib. It takes them, you know, between 5 and 10 minutes, depending on how it goes. So, you know, big priority on that boat, and I suspect on PRADA they're having the same debate.
Could you give us an indication as how long we might be waiting, because you're amongst it all, for this restart?
Put me on the spot, Stephen MacGyver. I don't know. I mean, it takes a little while to move the top gates, but they're on their way. And it has been a big right-hand shift. This was not forecast. It's going to be an interesting course, and it'd be good to get Nathan's take on it. You know, the breeze is coming from the right-hand side of North Head. We've not actually seen that before. It's slack tide. It's the same racetrack, but yet different to what we've seen in previous races.
Thank you, Shirley. That's Shirley Robertson and Chase Boat 1, two-time Olympic gold medalist. We have the best experts running around. So we're on a race postponement because of big right-hand shift.
Huh? Yeah.
So here's the graphics. You can see there the arrows coming down the screen. That's the wind direction. You can see how it isn't in line with the race course. And when it's shifted so far to the right like this, now the wind's going to be coming over North Head. It's coming over a lot more land. It's going to be very puffy. And so Ian Murray, you know, did the right thing here. He wants to straighten that course up, give these guys a fair race. I think he knows how important today's racing is, and he doesn't want to have sailors and teams coming to him after the racing complaining that he didn't set a fair race course.
He's got a little time too, you know. It isn't a multi-race day, so he's got a little bit more time than normal. And let's get it set up right. The world can wait a few more minutes for these really cool boats and this really intense boat race to actually happen.
So that is the stadium course, as you said, to the right of your screen. There's Mangawika North Head, and you can see the spectator fleet sort of just comfortably in the soft spot, but you can see the wind too coming from the right to left on your screen, as Nathan quite rightly said, over the land. And it's a big right shift. This has caused this postponement at the moment of round robin 3, race number 2.
Well, we've had, you know, between 240 and 210 wind direction. We're now right around at 270. It's a big right-hand shift, and you know, that wasn't predicted in any of the forecast models that I've been following today, and Ian Murray obviously didn't expect it either. So, as you say, sailing is a sport that you have to work around the weather, and these things happen. It's just a quick rejig of the course, and we should be going again in 10 or 15 minutes.
Okay, so let's just quickly go down this path. If folks are joining in around the world watching this, and they're going, well, okay, there's been a wind shift, and they're going to reset the course. If they had continued on in the current conditions, what might have we seen?
Well, it becomes a bit of a drag race, a bit of a parade around the racetrack. The feature of these courses that make them work, that make them so hard for the sailors, and what they're designed to, is to go directly into the wind and directly with the wind. It's called a windward leeward race course. And what that does is it causes as many tacks and jibes or maneuvers, because you can't go directly into the wind, you can't go directly with the wind. It causes more maneuvers, stays within these boundaries. It makes it a tactically very hard race course for the sailors. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to find the best sailors in the world, make the race course hard, make it directly upwind, directly downwind. Don't make it a parade. We can all do a parade. Even you could do a parade, Stephen. Well,
actually, that would be pushing it.
Let me take that back.
Yeah, take it back. Take it back right now. But the crazy thing here is, I suppose in many ways, it's like they don't want to be doing the quarter mile on a drag race, right?
Right.
We want to be doing something, and to make this incredible boat entertaining.
It's a spectacle. Windward Leeward race course has been very traditional over the last, let's call it, since 1992 was the last time there were reach legs, I believe, in the America's Cup. It's been upwind, downwind ever since, and Ian Murray's trying to keep it that way.
So race postponement at the moment, round robin 3, race number 2 between Ineos Team UK and Rossa PRADA Pirelli, who will have port entry once they get the restart underway. If you are tuning in wherever you are around the world, this is an enormous day for that boat right there. You've got to remember that pre-Christmas, Ineos Team UK in the World Series could not buy a win. Absolutely could not buy a win. There were signs of desperation, deflation from all the crew, that they were trying their best to try and figure out how to sail the boat. And then post-Christmas and into the new year in the PRADA Cup, suddenly they got their upgrades, everything started to fall into place, and now they are the team to chase. They are 4-0, need one race win here, and we know with a ghost race, you've got to turn up to the start and cross the line because there is no American magic. You will earn the point that is an offer. If they do both those things today, this team here, after all the years of preparation and building, designing, training and racing, will go directly towards the PRADA Cup final, which is due to start racing on February the 13th. They'll have a fortnight of, as Ben Ains in his own words, buying time and giving them the flexibility to do upgrades. And that is an enormous advantage in this America's Cup.
Well, I put it to their head sail designer, Gautier Sargent, a few days back and said, is there a chance that you would rather actually stay in the game and do more racing practice? And he looked at me like I had two heads. He said, no way, man. He said, race days are tough because it's all about racing that day. Development days are when you get faster, and they want as much time off away from racing right now, which gives us, with Nathan, makes us think, you know, we thought that the Kiwis had a big problem not having racing practice, but maybe in effect, based on what Gautier said that day, maybe they're kind of licking their chops. They have all this time for development and don't have to be bothered with this little problem called sailboat racing that you might have to do.
Well, they had 3 weeks to turn things around from the December World Series racing to the round robins here. And I bet you they didn't do everything on their list. I bet you there was a bunch of things they wanted to upgrade the boat. And yes, it's going faster now, but I bet you the designers back in the shed with the shore team have got parts ready to come onto this boat, and they need time. And a week between the round robin and the semis is not enough to do a lot of these jobs.
Our understanding is they believe the boat is not fast enough.
The boat is never fast enough.
Never.
Doesn't matter what boat you're on, it is never fast enough.
Not ever.
So, okay, so on that train of thought, Rossa have been upgrading since we last saw them. It will be interesting to see if because essentially they haven't won a race, have they, in this PRADA Cup round robin? There's a DNF, and then, of course, there was the capsize. So if you looked at it in those terms, They want to prove that they've got a fast boat, and they think it is faster.
Of course they do. You know, yeah, they technically got 2 wins on the board, but as you said, that was because American Magic didn't make the time limit in one and then capsized in the other. But, you know, we haven't seen these boats out since Sunday. You know, I know that they all went for a little training session yesterday, but they would have changed parts on these boats. And, you know, we're trying to find out, well, what have they changed and has it made the boat go faster?
That'll be interesting because, remember, they still have another foil to go. So we've only seen one of their final 2 foils come into action. And you got to believe that the other one has, as soon as they can adapt it, we'd assume they think it's faster and they will get it on this boat right away.
Onto the water with Shirley Robertson. What's going on? Where are we sitting at right now?
We're just beside PRADA. I think all the guys deciding what to do with their jibs. I mean, I'm really interested in how this boat performs. I mean, they were out this week without the rig up, towing around, you know, whether that was new foils or, you know, just adjusting the system. I guess we'll see today. To me, the rig also looks a little bit different. There's more pre-bend, you know, without any load on it. It's already bent backwards. It looks flatter. But more than that, I think, you know, they need to up their games in terms of comms and how they manage the race course, you know, who's reading the computer. And for sure, the British gave them a real masterclass last weekend in that. So, you know, I expect them to have been working on that over this last week and to see a sort of different comms package, that relationship between Bruni and Spittle. And maybe even someone else, you know, maybe they just need another head in the game. So let's see, you know, really interested to see how they come out and react today.
You know, Shirley, I think all the teams are rethinking this kind of afterguard comms plan based on clearly the success that Giles Scott and Ben Ainslie have had. I mean, but the problem is, and I'm speculating here, the problem is that you make these boats and the layouts of the boats and what people are going to do, you literally decide that a year in advance. It's not like everybody's saying, well, why doesn't Terry Hutchinson just float now? Well, I don't think it's that simple. I think the boat is set up for people to physically as well as mentally have to do a bunch of jobs, and you can't just break somebody out of there and say, you just go be a tactician, you just go hang out like Giles Scott does. This is something that the Brits decided a long time ago, and I don't think it's as easy as people think just to readapt.
No, you're right, Terry, but I think it's not all about engineering. I mean, part of it is the trust on the British boat between Giles and Ben, and I suspect there's not many people who could actually be a tactician for Ben Ainslie, who he would really believe. And I think also having Giles free, he's able to look at the computer, at the data, at the race geometry, you know. And I wonder if you know, we listen to the comms on all the boats, and we don't really hear definitive, you know, time to lay lines, time to pins, you know, all the stuff that we would normally have, you know, racing a big boat like this. So it's not all engineering. Some of it is just working out the trust between each other. And in some of the boats, maybe encouraging, you know, other voices. I mean, I think about the American boat, you know, Paul Goodison is an extraordinary tactician, particularly when conditions are difficult and unpredictable. And, you know, we're not sure that he's being listened to. And I think on the Italian boat as well, you know, we just need definitive calls from the helmsman that's to leeward. And currently, it just all seems way too polite on that boat.
Well, we were just looking on an overhead shot of, well, it's dry on that side, but on the other side, there was a lot of water in the cockpit, just to let people know this is how these boats, what happens to these boats when they sit there, especially when they heel over to one side. They literally have drain holes in the side that tend to fill up the cockpit. So we did not have a sinking situation here on Ineos. It was just the way these boats sit there, and maybe we'll see water there it is, water sloshing around. No panic, people. We are going to have a race today, and they're going to be up and running here sometime soon.
Interesting, Kenny, you talk about no panic, because in the press conference, Jimmy Spittle responded to a question about, you know, what they think about the racing. His focus is all on the race, but he did say, quote, there is no desperation. We don't get desperate in Luna Rossa. And he also, Nathan, made the suggestion that maybe, I think the quote was, maybe we got a new foil.
Well, people are pretty cagey, aren't they? You know, in this game, the America's Cup. Everyone on board the boats, they know what they have, and they know the other teams probably know what they have, but they're not going to hand over information for free. And they sure as hell don't want to tell us anything, that's for sure, because we're going to blab it to the whole world. So it's part of the game, you know, trying to hide what's up your sleeve. And what are they doing there? They are pumping air into the foot of the mainsail.
I think there's airbags in between these twin skins on these mainsails that actually keep them separate, keep the skins apart, and help increase the foil. So I think a lot of them have airbags in between the two skins. In different parts, they might have airbags up in the top of the sail too at the same time. Again, this is the part that's unfortunately being covered by the black sails. But at the same time, there's lots of stuff going on in between those skins, just like what's going on the outside of the skins.
Well, that was my buddy Luke Parkinson. We were a part of the Artemis racing team in Bermuda, and I'm going to have to give him a call after today and find out what exactly they were putting air into there.
But Nathan, you just said they don't tell you anything.
No, but now I know he was pumping air into something, so I want to know, was it air or was it hydrogen or something like that?
He was reminding you what it's like when you get a flatty on your mountain bike when you're riding into work, and saying, yep, this is what we have to do this for something a little bit bigger. You know,
Stephen, we also haven't touched on the fact it's got to be hard for the American Magic team today watching all this take place. Yes, I'm sure they're working around the clock, but we have a lot of fans back in the States, I know, joining us on NBC, and just for everybody back home, they've created something called a kudo board, and it's a message board essentially. There's a link on the team's homepage, so if all those North American fans want to give a bit of a cheer to their team, you go to their webpage, go to the team's webpage, find out the link to this kudo board, and you can send anything you want. So. Nice job so far. Sounds like everything's going really well down the street, by the way.
We are setting your new start time for 16:35.
4:35 local time is the new start time for round robin 3, race number 2 between Luna Rossa, PRADA Pirelli, and Ineos Team UK. We're going to talk about PRADA because it was interesting listening to what Shirley was saying, although about how she feels they need to get their comms right, that they may be a little out of sync, if they got to get themselves together. I mean, even Jimmy Spittle said, we noticed a few things we need to sharpen up. So maybe they're just not in their groove yet, Nathan.
Oh, that's what he said. Yeah, everyone is trying to find ways to improve. And I've been involved in the past 2 America's Cup, and you spend the whole time trying to work out what the other team is up to, how they operate, how their boat's set up, how fast it is. And it's not until racing begins that you finally get to understand who does what on the boats. And, you know, Giles Scott, you know, has been doing a great job as a tactician. In December, we kind of thought, well, what's the point of having a tactician if you're not fast enough? Now they're fast enough. He's coming to his own.
Amazing how that all changed, didn't it? How the second guessing stopped immediately.
Yeah, you're like, wow, they are so smart. So now Luna Rossa are looking at it going, well, you know, we've got Francesco Bruni on one side, Jimmy Spittle on the other side. They're sharing the driving and the flying of the boat. And then they've got Pietro Sibello trimming the mainsail. That sounds like that's the 3 key guys in terms of the speed loop and the, I guess, the tactical decisions. Whereas Ineos has got dedicated flight controllers in Luke Parkinson and Lee McMillan. They are flying the boat. So Ben Giles, they don't get involved in it all. They've got Glennon Munn trimming the main, who's fully focused on speed and targets. He doesn't get involved in any of the race decisions. They've just got Giles and Ben looking at the breeze, and Ben's got a good eye, and so does Giles.
It sort of goes along the path of what he said in the press conference about dealing with efficiency, and because of only having 6 grinders as opposed to 8, and the way they were doing things. It's all about efficiency.
Efficiency meaning how much power can you produce,
but also
to trim the sails,
and also running the boat
and
itself,
running the boat. You know, like we talk, you know, in Bermuda for us and all the teams there, everything was powered by the grinders. Whereas now they've got batteries powering the foils. And I've asked the guys, you know, are the boats more power demanding or are they less? And they said, well, it's just slightly different. We're now having to trim the sails, and you want to trim the sails as fast and as accurately as you can. So the more power you can supply, the faster you're going to make the boat go.
just briefly, Kenny, as we look at the huge spectators gathering on Mangawika North Head to take in, which I think is a cool thing to do, to have a stadium course. How is this now affecting the setup again? Do they have to reset their thinking for another start? Because they would have been primed and ready to go, and suddenly the wind's pulled out, right?
Well, that's a good question, but I think that's the easy part for sailors. You know, we were talking at the beginning of the day, is there apprehension due to the, breeze strength based on what happened last week and things like that? The real answer to it is any athlete, as soon as the game starts, you go, whatever the sport. And they'll go right back into their starting routines. You can see they've just left the tender. They'll start getting into their pre-race routine just like any other race.
So 4:35 local time. 4:35 local time is the new start time pinned for this. So round robin race 3, round robin 3, race number 2 between Ineos and Rossa. The AC-75 has emerged as one of the undisputed stars of this America's Cup. The flying monohulls are harnessing the wind like never before, and they are, believe us, a real crowd pleaser. But how do the creators and designers feel about their masterpieces?
It's been 3 years since we came up with the concept of the AC-75, and it was certainly a pretty bold concept to push out a design that different from anything that had been done before. And I think seeing the yachts out on the racecourse, match racing, and really exciting manoeuvres, amazing straight line performance, it's a combination of relief and real excitement.
We started really with some conceptual work on paper, just to get an idea how the dynamics of that boat work, and then put together a model in the simulator, and then the design work could start, and that was definitely a big challenge.
The first time I saw the drawing of an AC-75, I said, nah, this is not gonna work. And I was wrong. It's working very well.
The AC-75 is probably the most complex yacht out there in terms of system. There's a range of systems which on their own have appeared in some yachts at various scales, but putting all that together, and the AC-75 is way up there.
The boats are impressive pieces of equipment. They're exceptionally fun to sail, and the technology that goes into them is truly mind-blowing. Yeah, I mean, words don't really do it justice how exciting it is to race one of these boats.
The AC-75 is one of the coolest boats I've ever sailed. It really is. It's a real beast. You know, the power of the boat, the performance that you see, you know, the effort that it takes to sail the boat well. You've got 11 people on the boat all working flat out to keep this boat flying on a knife edge. It's a really, really cool boat.
In terms of performance, we reach now, especially upwind, boat speeds and VMGs, so velocity made good, that are beyond everything that we have seen before. Even the catamarans, the AC-50s, downwind the performance is probably comparable between the AC-50s and the AC-75, but upwind they don't compare. It's really a milestone.
I think the first fully foiling monohull America's Cup will for sure be a milestone in America's Cup history. Where it goes from here, it's very hard to say. Let's see how it goes, but really hope they're here to stay.
Gotta love these boats, Kenny.
Well, right after the Bermuda America's Cup, I just, out of chance, ran into Grant Dalton on the street downtown Hamilton, Bermuda, and he said he wanted to do something different. Well, guess what? He nailed it. This is as different as it could possibly get and as exciting as it could get.
That is the Waitemata Harbour. We are on stadium course number C for race number 2 and round robin 3. You can see on the bottom right of your screen, time to start, the readjusted start time is just over 11 minutes to go. A must-win, simple must-win for Rossa, PRADA, Pirelli. Ineos Team UK, well, they can actually not win today and still go to tomorrow and potentially go through. Let's just remind you what this is all about. But when it comes to point scoring and how you get to the big show, which of course is the match from March number 6. The process is this: whoever finishes the round robin top goes to the PRADA Cup final. That's what Ineos want to do today. The remaining 2 challenges race in the 1st to 4 semi-final series. The winner of that then facing the top qualifier in the 1st to 7 PRADA Cup final. The winner then moves on to the match, the big show. So where are we right now? Okay, so this is how it stands. Let us remind you, Ineos are in the box seat to advance directly to the PRADA Cup final, needing 2 more wins, right? That's the win, hopefully they think now, and then the ghost race following. But as we saw last week with American Magic near sinking, anything can happen in this America's Cup. So today and tomorrow, round robins 3 and 4 have been adjusted due to the retirement with withdrawal of American Magic from the stage of racing to get Patriot ready. And they're saying, hopefully, on the water next Wednesday, which is magical. In effect, this weekend has turned into a head-to-head between Ineos and Rossa. If Ineos defeats Rossa in our opening race, which is not too far away now, and completes the ghost race against American Magic, then they advance directly to the PRADA Cup final. Rossa must win both races today and tomorrow. If they do, the Italians earn direct entry into the PRADA Cup final because of being the last boat to win a race. So everything is on the line today for these syndicates. And they're back up on their foils and looking forward to getting into that pre-start area and get this racing underway. The course has been adjusted. This is the team, Rossa, PRADA, Pirelli, in their 6th campaign, with the pressure on them to deliver. What have their upgrades done? What difference are we going to see today from them?
I bet we see 2 new foils today, Nathan. That's going to be my guess. I think this time in the shed this past week has allowed the teams to put some bits and pieces on that they weren't expecting to get on this early. We used to see shiny trim tabs in the back of the boat, and I might have just failed on that one. It looked a little shiny in the back end. I thought we had seen 2 all black foils, but we can tell by the size of the trim tab, that's for sure.
Well, Ken, you know, your point's pretty accurate. Like, if they've been out tow testing without a rig up, they're testing something on their foils, aren't they? Look at those.
Actually, they're both shiny today. We haven't seen that in a while, have we?
So does that mean they just sanded off the black paint? You know, because Ineos put black paint on their foils and they went quick last weekend. Maybe they thought, well, we'll go half fast and we'll have a silver flat.
Doesn't it make a great sight when you see these AC75s basically hooning around on the race course? That nose, the bar, so flat to the water.
They have gotten good at it, and it's one of the problems for us, Stephen, actually, as these teams get so much better at sailing the boats, the mistakes are what is the easiest to talk about if you're in the booth here with us. And these guys, they're getting better and better at it all the time. They're getting smoother on their skis all the time.
When you look at Ineos Team UK, you can go back to that first win in the PRADA Cup round robin. Everybody's going, oh my goodness, what happened here? Reliability comes to mind. Nothing breaking.
Reliability is super important. If you lose a race because a part of your boat fails,
race shots. This is the race committee. We are setting a new start time for 16:45.
Shirley, just quickly down to you. I've been looking at the observations here. Has the wind all of a sudden flicked back to the left out there? What's going on?
Yeah, good spot. It's dropped a bit and it's gone back to the left. And we just heard from the race committee we have a new start time of 16:45, so another 10-minute delay. It's, you know, this race course is not easy for all the reasons we've talked about before. There's lots of land, there's lots of weather. The land is high, and you know, this is a thermally enhanced breeze as well, so there's lots going on. So feeling a little bit free in Murray at the moment, but as you've said, we have time for this race, and he wants to really make sure it's, you know, it's good and solid and fair.
Shirley, which boat are you closer to at the moment?
We are close to Ian Murray. You're taking our shot. There we go. 16 minutes. He looks very calm and ready. But we're not far from either of them. Yeah, we're not, Stephen. We're not far from either of them. Both of them are waiting in this start box. We saw Ineos have a practice lap. It doesn't take very long. They've been up the top of the course and back, and I guess as the wind drops, they'll be starting to think about, about setup, about jibs. It's tricky, isn't it? We've talked about this before, absolutely having the right setup for the conditions, and the margin for errors are actually quite slim either way.
The reason for the question, Kenny and Nathan were just musing about foils and whether or not there are newish foils or the new foil on Luna Rossa PRADA Pirelli, and whether you could you had spotted anything that might suggest they are running new foils, considering what they've been doing in the week leading up to this race.
Stephen, I think they're trying to dupe us. It's a good. Hopefully, you'll get a close-up. We'll offer you a shot of it. I mean, I thought the same thing as Kenny did. I mean, we saw them out toe testing, which indicates, some sort of foil testing going on. We kind of heard that they were waiting for a foil and that probably it had arrived. We remember last weekend they raced on asymmetric foils. But we're a bit duped, really, because the back end is shiny, and without closer inspection, it's quite hard. It's quite hard to tell. I can't remember the orange winglets. Maybe Nathan, you might have a better memory than us on that.
No, I think we would have to check footage from last weekend, but I don't remember them having those fluoro wingtips, and I don't think that's got much to do with speed. I think that's got to do with vision for the guys flying the boat as a point of reference. But you can see those little black dots down the centre of the foil. That's got, my assumption, to do with the hinge between the flap and the main foil, and it's impressive how close our cameras can get in and zoom in on that stuff, and I bet you they're hating the fact that we're analysing them so close now.
I think it's the old ones. I think it's the old foil.
You reckon they've stepped back to the same two old foils?
I think that's the old foil. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. When in doubt, make it up when you're sitting here in this booth, and that's my story today.
Well, after racing today, maybe you can ask Bruni or Jimmy what he had in the boat.
I'll just go over to the compound and break down the front door and ask a few tough questions.
Yeah, so here's the sort of the simpleton looking at those wingtips, and we talk so much about how these AC75s are like aeroplanes. Well, I was always of the understanding, I was told once, that the wingtips on aeroplanes are all about fuel efficiency. They help fuel efficiency and cutting through the wind. So I wonder if that has anything to do with it from a nautical perspective underneath the water.
Well, the wingtips are definitely important on these things, because if you notice, the foils are often piercing the water, and so if you come out of the water at different angles, if you come out too flat, then the air pocket runs down the foil, and that whole horizontal that hangs out to leeward is going to be, the lift is constantly going to be changing it. Whereas if you have a tip that pierces it, it might just stop the air running down the foil. If you I could talk for hours about foil design, and I'd love to talk to all the designers of their foils about the pros and cons, because all these guys know where their foils sit compared to others, in terms of area and lift coefficients and things like that.
Wow, that's why you're the foiling expert.
Yeah, I know I just lost everyone there except for about 10 people in the world.
Well, as soon as you start throwing out foiling coefficients, you would have kept some who just love it. I love it because it's so close to a lot of motor racing and speed and aerodynamics. But the technology, and when you think about the sorts of people that are designing these machines, they're damn near rocket scientists, and they are so involved and embedded in it. It's amazing.
Well, why do you think Ben Ainsley thanked the guys at Mercedes so much the other week? They are the experts when it comes to the design of aerodynamics. You look at all the complicated fairings that go on a Formula One car, and you remind me the last time Mercedes didn't win a championship. It would have been almost a decade ago now, right? And if he's got...
He wouldn't be letting Lewis Hamilton at the wheel here, though. There's no way he'd be putting Lewis Hamilton.
No, he wouldn't be, but he'd be loving chatting to their designers. And Toto Wolff, he said, they speak to someone like Toto Wolff.
At the top end.
And if they're offering help and assistance, it's no surprise that their performance has improved, is it?
Luna Rossa PRADA Pirelli, new start time for Race 2 of round robin number 3 is now locally 4:45. That's 4:45, 4:45 on a Saturday afternoon, early evening. It's been another great day in Auckland where summer has been calling and delivered. It's also delivered a great spectator fleet as well.
Race chaps, this is the race committee. We are delaying your start. New time will be set for 16:55.
And just as we speak, we go to another postponement. So it's now 4:55. That's 4:55. Mother Nature is not playing ball today.
We just want a boat race. You know, we've been waiting a week now, and nearly a week, and everybody's anxious. But like Nathan said earlier, the weather is always either the grand part or the bane of our existence with this sport, and we got to just deal with it and wait, and hopefully we get ourselves a fantastic boat race when we're ready to go. And you know, like we said before, the race director Ian Murray, he absolutely is doing the right thing and trying to get a fair race.
So 4:55 now, 4:55, the official start time for this race. Round robin number 3, race 2. The America's Cup has a long history of innovation. It is as much a technological race as it is a boat race. Yep, fame and glory often goes to the sailors, but they are only as good as the race platform that supports them. So why don't we take a close look at how the race management system actually works?
With these boats, you know, we need to have really high quality controls on what actually the race course is and be able to make decisions very quickly. The boats are going faster, so a lap of the course, you know, back in Newport in 1983 was probably an hour, and now it's about 7 minutes. And so, luckily enough, we've got some really smart people that can write those programs that allow us to move on from conventional race management into, you know, fast track, automated, high quality information that is shared with broadcast and the viewers.
Mark set 1, mark set 1. We are happy for you to drop your mark in its current position. Over.
Okay, drop now. Drop. Drop.
So the purpose of the system is to get all the people who are out and about on the Cup information that they need to be able to do their job. We've got Ian Murray sitting on the signal boat. He needs to know what the wind is. He needs to know how to set the course direction, and then he gives us the information about what the start time is and what that course will be. We've got the skippers on all the sailing boats. We've got the marshals out around the spectator perimeter. We've got the broadcast crew who need to know where the race is set up, again what the course is and how it's all shaped. We've got all of these different legs needing to know different pieces of information, and they have different pieces of information themselves, and that needs to all come together into this central part to then go back out to where everybody else is.
We provide some technology that lets the event run really. It touches almost every part of the organisation, from setting a race course to helping the team sail their boat and stay class rule compliant in their AC75s, setting the course and keeping the spectators out of the way. And also that data goes to the broadcast for creating the TV product that everyone around the world is watching.
They got the inside overlap, and they have no reason to bear off until they want to.
There are 4 umpires who are watching the action through the race management system, and so their job is to ensure that the racing is done fairly and within the rules.
This is the umpires, penalty USA, but cleared.
So for sure, they are one of the key players in the America's Cup for using the data and information coming off the water.
75-foot foiling monohulls in racing like you have never seen before.
Traditionally, match racing is umpires sitting in boats, following them, using their eyes and skills to make a determination. These boats are too fast for that, and therefore what we need to do is to have the technology to have an accurate position of the boat, so we can then make the right call, but then also a consistent call, which is then a service to the sailors. We still have the umpires on the water, but the technology is here in the booth where we will watch the racing through the system and be able to make those calls.
This is the pinnacle of sailing and sailing technology, and it's not somewhere you get by accident. It's a big group, but there's a lot of key parts of the puzzle which come from New Zealand.
It's made entirely new ecosystems, and the boating industry that's up here in Auckland has stemmed a lot from the amount of technology and the work and the spectators that come in for the Cup. The first time I was ever up at a Cup here in Auckland, none of that really existed, and it's now quite large and quite vibrant.
When those boats start racing, it's pretty exciting, and I can assure you it's very difficult to focus on the technology when there's a screen next to me that has pictures coming off the water. So we'll be monitoring things pretty carefully, but at the end of the day, it's all about the boats, and we just love to see them out there racing.
Just over 15 minutes away from a restart in race 2 of round robin 3 between Team Ineos UK and Luna Rossa PRADA Pirelli. We have been watching a lovely story about the race management system as we fly you over Mangaweka North Head. You can see just at the bottom left of your screen the old bunkers that used to be there, and I think for World War II to protect potentially any invaders coming in. I think a long time ago a little Japanese sub came in and no one knew too much about it till later on. Anyway, you can see Luna Rossa PRADA Pirelli out there, and Ineos Team UK will come into your shot soon enough. The race management system, how has it changed the game of sailing?
It has changed the sport of sailing forever. That technology has changed. Well, first of all, it's given it an ability to be televised. I mean, frankly, when I did it, and you start a race and you drag all the way out to the left-hand lay line, and then you tack once or twice and come back in again, well, it was boring. It was boring to watch. It's not. I think the racetrack in this race management system is as much of an influence of modern sailing as the boats themselves. That's how important it's been for sailing.
Well, yeah, the change in racing, we've got now the boundaries that make the race course so much closer. You imagine trying to explain to the sailors on board where the boundaries are without this kind of technology and software, let alone the way they communicate with the umpires who are sitting pretty much next to us here on land. Richard Slater and his team, they have an umpire up, they watch it from the dry land, and they have a couple of umpire boats on the water. As Kenny said, the sport has changed forever with the way that race management run these races, and eventually this is going to trickle down through all the other facets of the sport.
So we are talking a positive influence on the sport, particularly at this level.
A huge positive change to how sailing has been run.
Which is really the only televised level at this stage. That big time televised level. There's some other odds and end regattas out there that have good television. But at this level, the world wants to see it, and we're here to show it. We just need Mother Nature to cooperate.
Well, Mother Nature on display there with Rangi Toto, and that's I don't know, just one of the many spectator craft out on the Waitemata Harbour today that are looking forward to some racing. We cannot wait for it because it really is a glorious day, and when you get the chance to get out on the harbour, when the borders finally open, ever get the chance to come to Aotearoa, New Zealand, then you will delight in what you are seeing. These magnificent pictures coming from our helicopters and our chase boat, and all the cameras that are based on the boats as well. Not too far away now, 4:55, the start for this next race between Ineos Team UK and Luna Rossa PRADA Pirelli. When you talk about Luna Rossa PRADA Pirelli, the PRADA Cup round robin might be a two-boat race, but it is far from over. And the Italian syndicate, they need a win. They've got to win today. They want to push hard, but they are acutely aware there is no room for mistakes.
Well, this weekend obviously is our first final because we basically need to win mainly the first race to break even, and then if we are good enough to win the first race, we need to win another race and going straight to the final, which is, I think, key and important, mainly because you will have more time to prepare the final of the PRADA Cup. What you are missing all the time in the America's Cup is time, and having the chance to have an extra week where you can control your time is key at this point of the campaign.
If anyone thought Ineos was going to have trouble, think again. It truly is game on in the PRADA Cup.
As I said many times in the press conference, when everyone was giving up already, Ben and his team, I said, well, you guys don't know Ben and the people involved in the team. I knew the level of the team during the Christmas Cup was not the real level of the team. We all know Ben is probably one of the greatest sailors in the planet, and Giles as well is going to be the future guy, no? And the team, the sailors they got on board are pretty good, so we know we got pressure on because obviously they got too much points, but we need to just fight until the end and make one mistake less than them. Everyone here at the base is pretty confident, but we also know if we're going to lose, we're going to lose, and we need to think already to the next step, which is American Magic.
Squall here. Whoa, hang on here. American Magic.
I'm sure they will get back, probably stronger than before, because when you climb up from something like that, you have even more power than before, no? For sure they're facing a big challenge, but they're going to come out from that. In a certain wind range, it's probably the fastest boat compared to the three of us. But as I said, when we saw the capsize of Team New Zealand months ago, I said already there, it's not going to be the last one. More you race, more you will push the boat. And everyone here wants to stay ahead. So for sure, you can argue they could do something different, but after is always easy. But when you are ahead, you want to stay ahead, so you push them pretty hard, and I will be no surprise if we're going to see another thing like that. Hopefully not, but we need to be ready, and it's part of the game.
Stay up, stay up.
Obviously, the first goal of our campaign is to get to the final of the PRADA Cup, and we will do our best to achieve that, because at the end, we worked for more than 3 years to get there. And think step by step. I don't think we need to think about the cup or whatever. Now the first real final of our campaign is this Saturday race.
Luna Rossa have their fans in the race village all set to go, and we're just waiting on this 4:55 start for race number 2 and round robin number 3. It's almost pushing an hour after the official start time, but there have been wind shifts, and that man, Ian Murray, the race director, is trying to find a fair and a reasonable course for them to race. So it's 8 minutes and 37 seconds and counting, and it'll be Luna Rossa against the team to beat. We've heard that over and over again. 4-0 are Ineos Team UK, and Sir Ben Ainsley on helm knows all about the triumph over adversity. And if you think about that recent World Series, in his words, really poor preparation for the PRADA Cup. No wins and a constant struggle. But lessons, upgrades, it's all been learned, and the team is mindful. You can't throw caution to the wind.
They got water in that boat. That boat is really low in the water right now. Something has gone badly wrong with Patriot.
I think the American Magic capsize was a wake-up call for all of us. You know, we pushed this boat really hard, and obviously, you know, those are the consequences if you push it just that little bit too hard. When the breeze is up, it's a reminder to first and foremost keep the boat in balance and under control. After that, it's changed things in terms of the points required to win the round robins and get through direct to the PRADA Cup final. And it's just upped the intensity in terms of the racing that we will have with Luna Rossa over this coming weekend. Up the intensity, the importance of winning those races.
Clearing transom 2-1 now.
Luna Rossa have been involved in the America's Cup since 2000, so they've been in the game 20-odd years. Very, very experienced outfit. They've got great designers, great sailors, fantastic backing from Patricio Bertelli and the PRADA brand. And they're really iconic, I think, when it comes to the America's Cup. That said, there are competitors, we want to beat them, and we'll be trying our hardest this weekend to get that route through to the final.
Very nice there. Yeah, good gains.
For us, we just have to take each race at a time. And, you know, if we don't have a good race on Saturday, we'll have to come back on Sunday and try again. But really, we've just got to keep the intensity going.
Okay, awesome hustle, guys.
Well done, guys. Ineos Team UK, they go 4-0 in the PRADA Cup Challenger Series.
It's been quite a long period now that we've been down here in Auckland, 3 months, and that momentum's slowly been building. We've had our ups and our downs, and certainly last weekend was a real up for the team, great motivator, and you can feel that momentum growing. So actually I see that we are able to capitalise on that and hopefully keep that rolling through this weekend. But, you know, it's never easy in this game, and we don't expect it to be easy, so we'll always fight all the way.
They're maneuvers that we've just never seen them this smooth. Something has drastically changed under the water to make these maneuvers so smooth.
Well, the benefits of getting straight into the PRADA Cup final, it just buys you time, and we all know in this game, time's everything. So it buys you a bit of extra time to maybe make some tweaks that you perhaps wouldn't otherwise get the opportunity. If you don't make it through to that final, you're into the repechage or the semi-final, which starts, you know, 4 or 5 days later. And so it really narrows down any development time you've got. So that's why it's so important to try and make it through straight to the PRADA Cup final and give yourself a couple of weeks breathing space to make the developments and hopefully make some more gains in boat speed.
The Hauraki Golf on a Saturday afternoon, waiting for a race. It will be race 2 of round robin number 3. And as you can see the clock, 4 minutes and 44 seconds and counting to port entry by Rossa, who are up against Ineos Team UK. Both of those teams need the win for different reasons. Let's just go onto the water now with Shirley Robertson. And Shirley, do you feel we are going to get a race start or another postponement with this wind?
If you're in Italy or Great Britain and you've got up in the middle of the night to watch your heroes go head-to-head, I can guarantee it is going to be worth the wait. The breeze has come back in.
This is the race committee. We are setting a new start time, 1700.
Okay, well, I was about to say the wind has gone further left. There's a bank of black clouds over the city. The wind has gone further left from the course. The course is currently set at 235 and it's 30 degrees to the left of that. So another 5-minute delay while they shift the course a little bit. A tough day for Ian Murray and his team, but the breeze is up, and you know this course is fantastic. I mean, expect the unexpected, and you know just stuff happens here and frequently, and I really think it's going to be a good race. Plenty of breeze now, Stephen.
Shirley, my spies told me you were an incredibly competitive sailor, and I just wonder if you were in this situation, would you be getting a little frustrated, or would you just come back at me and say, well, that's sailing?
No, I mean, even an amateur sailor is well used to this. You know, you keep alert, you keep on it, and we've seen these boats. You know, they do a lap and they come back and they get back into the routine, and it does add to the drama though, and it does really add to the tension. I'm sure certainly, you know, there's a little bit of nerves and anticipation about what they're going to do. I mean, in a few minutes' time, hopefully they're going to go head-to-head for a really important race.
Thank you, Shirley.
Guys,
we are on board.
We've got 7 minutes 40 seconds here, so we don't have long. Grinders are seeing Cunningham demand on their displays as well. Over.
So we've been listening in the background
here
while Shirley was chatting, and it sounds like Ineos have an issue with it. Cunningham on the main. It's quite an important tool. What it does is it increases the power, decreases the power of the sail. It pulls down the luff. All sailors know when you pull the Cunningham on, it flattens the sail, makes the boat go fast. You ease the Cunningham out, powers up and goes much quicker. It's at the front of the mast, or sorry, the back of the mast. You'll see a lot of action here right now. They're about to unzip that there. They're going to get inside. It's probably controlled by hydraulics, so there's either a hydraulic or electronic issue right now. Lennon Munn, who controls the mainsail, will be trying to push buttons, and he's not getting a response. So we'll just listen on board here.
So is this a situation whereby Ineos can play the 15-minute
The world
delay.
probably doesn't even know about the 15-minute car. This is something that just got established over the last few days. They gave each team the ability to postpone their own start. Don't kill the messenger here, folks. They can postpone their own start 15 minutes. You only get one per round robin. Neither of these teams have played that card yet. So there is a possibility that if they can't get this fixed, and I'm sure it's hydraulic, if they can't get it fixed, they will play their 15-minute card in order to give all these folks more time to actually get the work done to make it work.
Maybe we could just listen in on Ineos for the moment and just try and pick up on the chatter.
Yeah, it's going to be all about the chatter. It's going to be from the people actually doing the work, the sailors.
Wait to the last minute before we play a card here.
Yeah, so that's the card we were talking about, that 15-minute card. So, yeah, there's a chance there could be another delay, and this time not from the weather gods or Ian Murray, but from the hydraulics on board the boat. These sails so depend on these Cunningham operations now. The load share that goes up the luff of the sails, the helix structure that goes up the luff of the sail is so important to the mast bend and the overall shape, power, depower situation on board the boat that you couldn't. I don't think you could really sail the boat functionally without this working at this stage.
Nathan, quick fix, long fix.
Yeah, let's get
I don't know. It's hard to tell. You can see these guys here got, that's like a hydraulic fluid there. It looks like maybe the down on pressure, and maybe they can pump more pressure into the hydraulics to get it to work, but it could be electronics. It could be, sometimes these things, it's a simple case of going Control, Alt, Delete, setting the computer. You know, when your computer's not working, you turn it off and turn it on again. I'm sure it's not that simple, but, you know, if it was me trying to fix it, that's what I'd try. And then I'd walk away and say, good luck, fellas.
Exactly.
4 minutes and 18, 17 seconds and counting to port entry from Luna Rossa, PRADA Pirelli, but we have already heard Sir Ben Ainsley on the Ineos boat saying we might play our card. That wind, what is it telling us, Kenny?
Well, the wind has gone to the left, but you can also see that they've moved the start-finish line down to the right in the box as well. So the course itself is skewed to fit within the box right now and to be a little bit better at an upwind, downwind setup. But I wouldn't be surprised if they push this 15-minute button on Ainsley's boat for a little more delay, that if Ian Murray doesn't actually sort this course out.
Race committee, Ineos Team UK. Ineos Team UK.
Ineos Team UK, go ahead.
I think we're about to hear it.
Race committee, we would like to request a delay, please.
Ineos Team UK, we copy that, and we'll add a 15-minute delay to the start clock, making the new start time 17:15.
Ineos Team UK. Ineos Team UK, copies. Many thanks.
So confirmation, we have a 15-minute delay, not by Mother Nature this time, but a technical issue. And you know what, I feel like coming back at you now and saying, who's under the most pressure now? It's the old Murphy's Law thing. You think one team's going to just, you know, bolt on home, and then some little thing happens.
Gremlin, a gremlin, yeah. Well, the good news is they were zipping up that area around the tack of the mainsail. So now they're focusing on down below. You see, I thought you saw some folks down below kind of looking around as to how the systems work.
We've got manhole open here at the back. We saw, I think it was Nick Hutton jumping down the front hole. So they've got people inside the hull right now trying to work out, you know, if it's not at the mast, you just keep chasing the problem until you find where the problem is. And these boats are incredibly complicated downstairs.
And that's it, by the way, 15 minutes and they're racing. So they're still on the clock. This takes a tiny bit of pressure off, but they are still officially on the clock.
This is putting the cat proverbially amongst the pigeons here, because could you just imagine this? they have been the team to beat. They are the ones to beat. They have looked from afar, unless you're a sailing expert, invincible to the common eye, right? 4-0, and everybody's going, wow, no one's going to touch them. And just when they're on the cusp potentially of heading straight into the PRADA Cup final, as you say, Kenny, a gremlin.
The gremlin. Yeah, but you got to give credit where credit is due. They have talked through every one of these scenarios. I'd be really surprised if they can't fix this, because this is the best in the business at fixing boats, at fixing systems, at understanding this. They all hand-built all these systems, the people who just jumped down that hatch. So, Nathan, I'd be shocked if they don't get this fixed.
It'll definitely get fixed. It's a question, can you fix it in 15 minutes? You know, in all the America's Cup sailing that I was doing in San Francisco and Bermuda on the foiling catamarans, we used to measure our training session in efficiency, you know, how much of our session in training we were spent sailing. And yes, you take breaks to discuss how to improve a bit or how, you know, to re-energize, to get food and drinks, but the percentage was always how long do we fix the boat on the water versus how long were we sailing it. And sometimes it was 50-50. Sometimes we spent more time stationary fixing problems with our boat, and you'd often get to the time when it was starting racing and you're just going, I really hope that our efficiency is good today and we don't have a breakdown on a race day, because it happens all the time in training.
So leader on the boat, as the leader, the helmsman on the boat, and you get a situation like this and you know that you're close to something special, potentially getting a win, going through to, you know, let's say the preliminary big show. How are you coping with this? Is it because of the practice?
You just trust your people. You know, the sailor's job is to sail the boat, and you see Luke Parkinson here. He's getting involved trying to help the shore crew with various things, but you don't see Ben and Giles doing that. Ben and Giles are all about the racing. They're all about, we need to be ready for the start. They'll be discussing here the tactics and strategies of when we finally do get racing. You don't let yourself get distracted.
But in a way, they do have they got a little green card here too. Let's just take worst case scenario. They're out of the race today. They still got another day to do this. You know, if you're the Italians, you don't have another day. You wouldn't have that little reprieve. So I still stand by. They got 14 minutes to go. We're going to see these guys zipping around here in a minute. But it is not life or death. They do have another day.
Let's go on board Ineos.
What do you think, breeze-wise? You're just trying to work out where we land this Cunningham.
Do you think they're trying to fix it in one position?
Kind of sounds like it. Landing the Cunningham, they're going to pull it to a spot and fix it.
Average is 17 bleds. Copy that. Yeah.
Can you expand on landing the Cunningham?
I guess we need to be careful.
Well, normally they're adjusting the Cunningham. They pull it on and they let it off. Right now, they're just going to tie it in one position and leave it for the race.
There's a bunch of orange bands right above where Parco is on the sail right now. And see those orange bands right in the middle of the screen. And there's a band on the mainsail and a band on the mast. They actually use that as a visual trimming aid to figure out how tight the Cunningham is. There you go. Good camera work.
Yeah.
So they're going to pull that down. They could potentially pull that to a point, fix it, and then that's it for the race. At least it's on, it's tight, and it's bending the mast approximately where they want it.
Ends up being just set and forget, and then they just have to sail smart, don't they?
See, it's already down a little bit more. It's down to the middle band right now.
How does it limit the boat's performance?
Greatly, because that structure, that structure, that helix structure up the luff is a major part of sticking your foot on or off the pedal, powering up downwind, depowering upwind, and who knows how it all works with these intricate systems between the twin skins of the mainsail.
So heaps up there without any sheet tension. There's going to be a lot of load on it without the sheet tension. A lot of load without the main sheet tension.
So what they're talking about is the sail is designed to be loaded in all corners. And right now, they're just pulling down on that Cunningham and really, really working the fabric, the 3DI fabric, hugely hard because the rest of the sail isn't loaded. It's not loaded uniformly across the sail, and you can break a sail like this very easily if you're not careful. Oof. I, for one, are hoping that this sail does not break in front of world television. Just personally, I'm just going to throw it out there, because that is point loading to the nth degree right now without loading up the rest of the sail.
So trouble for Ineos Team UK ahead of the start of race 2 in round robin 3 with 11 minutes and 12 seconds and counting to go. Their race boat, Nathan, has been compromised.
Massively compromised. I don't expect them to be anywhere near as fast as what they would be capable of. They're going to be slower downwind because they're lacking power, and slower upwind because they can't depower enough. And there might be snippets in this race where the boat is in range, but most of this race they're going to be out of range. It's a big compromise for them.
This is a big shift in this round robin series story. One part.
Boys, you're just gonna have to try and muscle this one
part on this incredibly complex boat. Shirley, can you believe what you're seeing and hearing right now?
Well, yeah, I can believe it. I mean, the boats are so complex. Stephen, this control is so important. When they first started racing these boats, the load would be about 4 tons, and I'm sure Kenny knows this. Now it's double that. It's about 8 tons. And from where I am, we're right beside Ineos. You can see how tight the very fabric of the front edge of that sail is. And I know Kenny's worried about it ripping, but
I can't
my goodness, it looks right on the edge, Kenny.
Yeah, if you look at those 3 stripes, it looks like they got it about 75% on.
Yep.
You know, if it was lined up with the top stripe, that's like no Cunningham on. If it's on the bottom stripe, that's maximum. This is my assumptions, and they will have, you know, a digital readout with loads and percentages, but to the layman's eye, that looks like about 75% to me on.
So let's just explain again for the layman who doesn't understand a heck of a lot about sailing and the effect that this problematic Cunningham will have on this boat today.
Well, that is a major adjustment for these boats, for, believe it or not, a Cunningham for bending the mast. A lot of people at home who sail our standard boats don't use their Cunningham in that way. This is a completely new technology, a completely new way of really adapting a sail to a sail plan and adapting a sail plan across a wind range. You're going upwind, you're going downwind, you have puffs, you have lulls. That thing would be moving all over the place on a normal day in its normal method of use.
8 minutes and 40 seconds and counting to race start.
10 knots.
Shirley, can you update us on the wind direction, please?
15.
Stephen, the wind, it's just started to rain on the course. There's a bit more wind and it's gone further to the left. I mean, really difficult conditions for Ian Murray. We'll see what happens, but plenty of breeze, a little bit squally, and tricky conditions for this race.
You've got to love this whole America's Cup, don't you? I know we're racing the PRADA Cup, it's all part of the cycle, and
you're just a rookie, man. You haven't seen anything yet, but last weekend was rough. I mean, rough as rough can be, but I'll never think for a minute that we're out of the woods on craziness, because that's what this thing breeds.
I'll take this rookie initiation any day of the week, Kenny. Ineos Team UK up and falling ahead of race start, a race that if they win, and then here's the other thing, they've got to complete the ghost race start, right? That extra point.
They can do that without a mainsail. Take the mainsail. Don't point load that mainsail like it was before, please. Now that it's loaded up, though, Nathan, it looks comfortable. The sail looks comfortable. The mast bend looks comfortable. It's just whether they can change gears well enough in this race and not using that really critical tool.
Well, they'll be load sharing now too with the main sheet. As soon as you pull the main sheet on, the load between the Cunningham and the main sheet starts to balance out, and they'll be at less risk of damaging the sub. Probably the most risky point is having the main sheet off, Cunningham on tight, but they've just done a quick little half a lap of the course here to just make sure everything's working okay, the rest of the boat at least, and you can see pretty puffy out there.
Luna Rossa just by the tender. They'll be getting going shortly. They have port entry for this race. There'll be starboard entry for Ineos Team New Zealand. Away they go, getting ready for. They will have heard all the communications too. They'll be knowing what's going on. They'll have seen a gap in the fence.
I think if they played their 15-minute card, we just call it a day, folks. Head back home, and we'll try again tomorrow. But that's not that. As we know, that's not the case. So I'm not trying to spread that rumor.
Look at that puff in the background that Ineos is in. There's plenty of breeze out there.
Got that. So the line, square 4.
The crazy motions of these boats, you guys. It's just that. It's like, what the heck is going on here? It's just, especially when they're stopped. That's when they're at their most dangerous, really. I mean, dangerous as far as just not having any control. The faster you go, the more control you have very often.
Just have to cruise a little bit here. Okay. Yep. Is it okay? Yeah, like this is fine. See that even with the mark? Get some trim if you want. Big puff. 3, 2, 1.
This is a big ride, you guys. This one. 247.
Really puffy here, boys. Yep. Speed on the touch. Yep.
So it will be Luna Rossa PRADA Pirelli against Ineos Team UK. Can we get a start in race 2, round robin number 3? So much riding on this race for both teams. And with technical issues from Ineos Team UK, there'll be a few hearts and mouths from their support crew. And I wouldn't mind saying that Sir Ben Ainsley's stomach might be in a few little knots at the moment, knowing he's going to have to really manage the boat today.
But one thing we know for sure here is that because Ian Murray is having such a hard time setting the race course up, it is shifty, really shifty. The breeze is back and forth all over the place. That plays into their hands. A shifty race course can make up for a little bit of boat speed. I think they're rooting for it to be as shifty as possible right now, and maybe they get away with not having a fully functioning Cunningham.
Just gonna build speed and come down here.
Yeah, they just cut the pin now, so this is the final 226.
Under 4 minutes to race start.
Hey boys, just going to go for a bit of speed, and then I'll probably barrel away an eagle just to get down a
Hearing
bit.
the voice of Jimmy Spittle aboard Luna Rossa PRADA Pirelli. You can see what the wind is doing on the course. Shirley, any shift?
Now, Stephen, it's looking good. The breeze is in. It stopped raining, and hopefully we're ready to go.
Shirley Robertson, two-time Olympian, our eyes on the water, none better.
Barrel away.
Turning.
Ineos Team UK now have to manage their boat.
My wheel, your wheel.
They win this one though, complete the ghost race, they're through to the PRADA Cup final. There's always a story in the America's Cup. Luna Rossa, PRADA Pirelli to the left of your screen, down to the bottom. They will have port entry. They can enter in 2 minutes and 10 seconds.
Race yacht. This is the race committee. We will be delaying the start. New start time 17:20.
So, there you hear it again, race committee. They've sent a shift in the wind, so it's now a 5:20 local. 5:20 local race start.
Stand by on the boundary. 3, 2, 1. It's on the right.
Yeah, it's just a shame. It's such a shift. You can see the dark water on the top of the screen, such a shifty, puffy breeze. Nathan, sometimes you think on a day like today, you just leave it be and wait for the shift to come to you. But they're trying their hardest to be aggressive and move this race course around and get it sorted and straight for the start. But you know what? After the start goes, there's a reasonable chance that one of these legs turns into a bit of a parade. It's that shifty out there, and it can last for a long enough amount of time, and you could end up reaching down the race course to one of the marks at one stage.
Exactly. I've been looking at the observations on some of the headlands around here, and Bean Rock, which is sort of in the centre of our race course, we've had as far left as 270 and as far right as 270, as far left as 195. That's a huge angle change across the course, and if you're in that lefty, you'd aim at the top mark, no tax, and if you're on the righty, it's sort of the same, and pressure's been anywhere between 20 knots and 14 knots out there. I've been living in Auckland now for, you know, the last year or so, and spent a lot of time out on the water watching these guys, but out on my foiling sailboards and stuff as well, and it's always shifting. You know, this southwest direction comes off a lot of land. It's just flicking left and right of the land, and the weather systems here are quite unpredictable.
Well, it's one of the challenges of a stadium course, right? We're trying to make the sport itself more accessible to everybody who wants to watch it. Believe me, for everyone out there, it is a stunning sight out on the water. But one of the challenges is to get stadium seating, you get close to land, and when you get close to land, you get unpredictable breeze, and that's the problem.
This is life on board an AC75. You put that woman foil down and touch the nose, and there's a fair bit of spray that comes in your face. That's why everyone's wearing those goggles.
All the way down.
5:20 local time is the new race start for this encounter between Luna Rossa, PRADA Pirelli and Team Ineos UK. This boat in front of you, they've had their upgrades in the past week. There is speculation there might be a new foil on it. They say they're getting fast. In fact, Francesco Bruni has said this week, we are definitely making the boat go faster day by day. He would love nothing more than to have it go really fast today and pick up the win and put all the pressure back on Ineos Team UK to race tomorrow. Both teams want direct entry into the PRADA Cup final if one of those teams finishes top of the round robin series.
Both boats here in the water at the moment.
I'm surprised there aren't people on Ainsley's boat right now still trying to work on that Cunningham operation, but obviously they don't think they have enough time, and they want to kind of stay mentally in the game and start setting themselves up for that pre-start routine in order to get into the starting line on time.
Luna Rossa, PRADA Pirelli on the left, Ineos Team UK on the right. 3 minutes 50 and counting towards race start. Probably one of the most important races in the history of that team there. They are flying. They are motoring on the Waitemata Harbour at the moment. They will have starboard entry. All the preparation over 3 years could come to a head today for Ineos if they can snare a win.
This is a very tough one for the tacticians to try to decide which end of the line they want to start at. Normally they do a lot of homework before the start with their race software, you know, this end of the line's favoured, but with this wind shifting around so much, it's kind of like put the software away and get your eyes out of the boat, and that's where I think the advantage might go to Giles Scott. If that boat can be fast enough, then the tactician being free enough there, I think levels the playing field now.
Get that feeling back in round robin 2, race number 2, the Luna also got beaten by 18 seconds. That was, if you remember, the second race, because the first race got postponed by a wind shift, and then Ineos Team UK has actually taken the lead off Luna Rossa with some magnificent work again in that race by Giles Scott. So here we go, closing in on entry on the port by Luna Rossa, PRADA Pirelli.
Yeah, no, right. Rising for edge.
Ragazzi, forte, easy.
Yeah, release. Yeah.
That's good.
Trim, boys, trim.
It's good there. No lower blazing.
Get
No lower than that. That's good.
Luna Rossa
Next move will
is
be a
in
jar.
Ineos Team UK, and they are clean to start fighting.
Shifty, breezy. We've seen a record of 14 tacks in a race. As shifty as this is, we may see that record broken today, with teams having to tack on the smallest and subtlest of wind shifts.
Hold that.
Wind is 250. Nice.
Big already at the back.
away, guys.
Yeah. Okay, turning up.
Italy bearing away here. This is where the boats are going to start to aim at each other on the exit of this manoeuvre.
Yeah, he's going to be early here. Square.
Driving here.
The Rossa do look quite early on their turn back there.
Yeah, Ainsley picks that up, so he's going to go behind. Very likely go behind and tack and then start that pushing maneuver.
Copy. Boundary in 12, Ben. Okay, ready? 2, 1, board down.
Really early, but that's a small starting box, starting area down there right now, Nathan. So it's a struggle for them both not being early.
Yeah, and you don't want to come off the fours. You come off the fours, it's a long build. So power in the start right now is to Ben Ainsley and crew.
Here comes the push.
Speed.
Coming on.
Missing out. Bearing away. Coming down.
Jimmy Spithill, the helmsman on Luna Rossa, trying to stay in the front, yet not be too early for the line.
He's locked.
Up hard.
Oh, he's come off the foil there. Big slam down.
Easing out. Easing out.
Slow head, 23 knots.
Watch him. Short him. He's a little early. Yeah. Okay, all the way. Yep. All the way. All the way. Go hard. Go hard.
Go. Space.
There we go.
An hour and 20 after the official race start, we are finally underway in round robin 3, race number 2. Luna Rossa, Ineos Team UK.
Okay, matching him on the
must win is at top of mind.
Amazing timing sequence there of both of these boats. How hard it is to slow down and speed up at those speeds, at those radical angles. Incredibly well done, actually, by both teams going into that start.
Pressure on the way.
Coming up to boundary protection time, Nathan.
Yeah, so this will be the Ineos rolling into attack pretty soon. You see a board going down now. They had to tack because of the boundary protection for PRADA. He's trying to get a little bit of leverage here. Jimmy Spithill trying to go as far as he can. He's got to be careful he doesn't get a boundary penalty here. A little bit of separation so they can live on the hip there. Now it's going to be about boat speed and intersection when they come back port starboard.
Now it's about the wind shift out there. This is going to be a drag race across this race course, and Shirley, who do you think has the advantage as they head all the way across?
How's it look under North Head?
Kenny, we're on the right-hand side, just under North Head, and it looks really good here. Plenty of pressure, a massive big shift. So, you know, Ben's going to get here first. We'll see if it works out.
Push this way. Don't leave him much room out the other side. Yeah, he's going to be able to get it, so I think we'll go here. Stand by. Copy. Ready. Okay, 2, 1, board down.
Port starboard, Ineos on starboard. I think PRADA is well across right now.
Stand by.
Easing.
3, 2, 1, board down. Board down.
They don't like the hit tacks.
Not the best tack in the world from Luna Rossa, but they pull it off.
Got to get the board down earlier.
Taking up a touch.
RM in this
Not a great tack by Luna Rossa. All of a sudden, they had the advantage, and it went badly for them very quickly here. Tiny little mistake, Nathan.
Tiny mistake gives Ineos just that chance to get back into the race. And it's interesting, Ben Ainsley is to leeward the whole time, driving relative to the boat there. You can see he's still on the leeward side of the boat here.
Working if you want to.
It's the best way to judge the boat to leeward.
It's not easy to do, is it? It's not easy to steer from the leeward side on any boat, never mind a boat going 40 knots.
No, and I just had that touch down there.
Hey, rotate! Black.
This is clear up. Yeah, that's
Speed again. Speed again.
Pressure in front.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Trimming up,
Aggressive sailing
please.
there by Luna Rossa.
Little high. Okay, Bill, got a Bill.
For Britannia because they got slow there. Spithill did a really nice job getting him slow, and sure enough, they come off the foils going to the tack. Great move by Spithill as they came in towards that boundary.
Okay, perfect in 220.
So they're just getting up and falling now. That should have Luna Rossa a few boat lengths ahead when they get to the top mark, especially if they can lay the top marks from there. That would mean no more tacks. Looking at this graphic here, it looks like both boats still have another tack and a left turn at the top mark to come.
Heading towards the top gate to complete leg 1 of 6. And it is all on, elbows out.
You must say the intensity's there in this one, isn't it? The highest intensity we've seen in any racing today.
High pitch. I will. Stop place here, guys. Stand by. Keep pushing. 3. Okay, possible right turn here.
Go.
Your wheel, Ben? Yeah, my wheel here. Good pressure here. Should be on. Two tacks. He tack.
Terrible tack by Luna Rossa Prada.
We have room. Touch and go on room here. I think we'll have room.
Can they get inside? Can Ineos get inside? They did it again. Luna Rossa struggled on the tack.
Ineos Team UK, top gate first mark, and they get under. Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli.
No, this is far from over, guys.
We've got a match race going on here.
Simo jibe, both boats jibing at the same time. Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli trying to roll them out of this jibe to take the lead.
I wonder why they're struggling. They've had 2 bad tacks at exactly the wrong
I think they're dropping the board too late. You can hear the comms on board. You know, Jimmy's talking to Bruni about when to drop the board.
You went to windward.
Seems like there's communication
but still clear.
issues
He's about 3 to leeward.
Onto the water with Shirley. You promised a cracking race. We got one.
And it's not over yet, Stephen. There's more to come, that's for sure. And I also think with the British boat that they can't hold a tight lane, that they haven't got height. I mean, they're super fast when they're on the road, but get them to windward of Luna Rossa and they're really struggling. We're following the boats down here, and to me, Luna Rossa just has a slight edge. They're just extending on the British all the time.
You wonder,
very close.
Shirley, you wonder if the Cunningham is an issue when they're going downwind. That Cunningham was jammed on hard for upwind. You wonder if they can't change gears quite well enough downwind because of that Cunningham.
Yeah, and I think also on the upwind, just they didn't have the modes that we're used to seeing.
Yep. My pitch. Building here, John.
Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli. Downwind leg number 2 of 6, sitting around 40-odd knots, and it's a split tack by both as they go downwind. And is that issue with the Cunningham on Ineos Team UK limiting their performance in this critical race?
Low mode is good.
Luna Rossa is in a big right-hand shift right now, it appears, but if they pass back, this would be the 4th pass, Nathan, in this race so far.
Stand by in 3, 2, 1, hold down.
So while it looked good with that right-hand shift for them there, when they jibe out, now they're sailing the lifted tack, which is not good on the downwind. It's puffy and patchy out there, and I think, you know, when you saw how fast they're going downwind before, they're doing 48 knots downwind before. I think that's got to do with the fact that Ineos can't power the boat up downwind, so they're just in fast mode everywhere they go at the moment because they've strapped that Cunningham on so tight, but I reckon they've got ahead here.
The world will be tempted, Stephen, to say, oh, look at Giles Scott did it again. This is a bit lucky in this particular case. They had to jibe away and got a nice shift out of it.
Stand by. 5. Ready. 3. Further. 3. 2. 1.
My pitch.
Ineos Team UK get around gate number 2 completing the downward leg for the first time, and they get ahead again. This is tight, though. There's nothing in this. Just quick look on the gap, and it won't be too much. It'll be a smidge. 9 seconds. Have problems, no worries for Ineos Team UK.
PRADA rolling straight into attack there. They were saying right-hand shift, so you want to get onto starboard tack when the breeze is right. That's going to get you up the course. So both boats now on the lifted tack. They're trying to do less distance. Super shifty out there. So if this breeze keeps trending to the right, Luna Rossa, who are on the right-hand side of the course, are going to make the gain. If it flicks left at all, Ineos should make the tack and cross easily. So big cross coming up here, Shirley.
Again, pressure in 3, 2, 1. There it is. Still sort of long.
I think he's going to shake you.
Starboard tack.
Luna Rossa. I've lost count of the amount of passes.
Hey, we can count them afterwards. Let's focus on this. I assure you, when you're racing, you don't count the passes. It's all about who's winning at the finishing line.
Righty here, Ben. Yeah, copy.
Giles talking about more right-hand pressure coming, so they're going to judge how far it goes out to the right to get a better slice of it.
Big right hand, unfortunately, but copy. We'll just try and dig into it. Hope it hangs in for us.
It's off the head, pressure.
That's the geometry of the race course that they're referencing right now. They would be, you'd have a different tactical strategy if you didn't have these boundaries. These boundaries really change things.
Looks like Luna Rossa's just tacked onto port, and they've got a left-hand shift, so chance they're going to leg out on this upwind and make a big gain, but so shifty out there, it's going to change a few more times, I think.
3 laps around this race course, Stephen.
3 laps equals 6 legs. We're heading towards the halfway point, and Nathan suggested that Luna Rossa PRADA Pirelli might make their gains, and you might be right on the money there, Nathan.
So the big question now is, do they keep sailing the wind, or do they tack now and tack on their face and try and get in phase with them and control the race? And just as I say that, they roll into attack. So this is what they didn't do last Sunday. They didn't tack into phase, and today they're doing a bit more match racing.
They're trying to build a little here.
Sorry, it is a fine line, though. Look at that wind shift. It just looks like a left shift coming right there. It's a fine line of covering, but you have to cover smartly. You have to cover with wind shifts on your mind, because if you just cover for the sake of covering, very often you can get passed on a day like today.
Stand by. Crossing. My pitch. Yep. Ready. 2, 1, 4 down. Thank you now.
Yeah, it's on by lifting.
Yeah, I agree. Pressure in 5.
They'll let them go this time, Nathan. They're playing the shift. I think this is the right play.
Trimming up, man. Trimming up.
45, very last
Looking like there's plenty of pressure coming down above them there, and
come up.
it's a balance between angle and pressure.
Box has got us just maybe 55. Come up.
Coming up.
We just push all the way to boundary. There we go. Yeah, as long as there's pressure. Yeah, Coffee's just got a massive riding.
So Ben's saying that Luna Rossa got a massive rider, so they've got a big lift. It's not really ideal. You want a left-hand shift when you're on the left of the course, but they might make it to the lay line. If they get to that lay line and get a left shift any time now, they're going to lay the top mark. Shirley, on the water, how do you see this playing out at the top of the course?
2, 1, 4 down.
We're about 100 metres from Ineos. They're just tacking on that right-hand side of the course. There's a big flat climb. There's plenty of breeze. It looks right-hand. So they could well have made a really good decision, just whether it works out in time. There's also wind at the left-hand side of the top of this course that PRADA are about to sail into.
Nice. Put pressure, yeah.
He just you got to watch him on the barrelway, okay?
Copy that. Copy.
240.
Good course here. Little turn on the mark.
Yeah. Stand by. 3, 2, 1.
Clear.
halfway through race 2, round robin 3, and it will be Luna Rossa, PRADA Pirelli reversing a 9-second deficit at the bottom gate and turning that into an advantage over Ineos Team UK. They're in the box seat at the moment. 19 seconds, so they've turned a 9-second deficit around to a 19-second advantage.
That looked pretty windy at the top, Mark, to me. You saw Luna Rossi get a massive heel in that bearaway, and Francesco Bruni saying, ease, ease, ease. He didn't want that rudder to pop out at that moment, and Ineos Team UK rolled straight into a jibe, so both boats on the right-hand shift with plenty of pressure going down this way.
And that jibe by Ineos was absolutely the telltale sign that they didn't want to spend a single second on starboard tack. There was a big right-hand shift on the race course. They had to stay in phase. This is not the time to split. This is the time to play the wind shifts correctly.
Downwind lead, lead number 4-6. Luna Rossa, PRADA Pirelli with the lead. Sitting around 250 metres.
Okay, my Trev.
On Team Ineos UK.
Yep, my Trev.
Okay, they're bringing it down. Very good pressure. I think we extend a little. Come back.
Bit of speed here, guys.
You know, I think that's main trimmer Pietro Sabello actually spending more time looking around. There's no question that all the teams are thinking about more visual help on the race course, looking at wind shifts.
Yeah, I think he's adding a lot to the conversation today. And
Softer hands of pressure here now. Still good gains for us.
Definitely paying off at the moment.
Big speed advantage with Ineos at the moment, sitting at 44 knots as opposed to just under 40 knots, and they are flying. Look at them. You can just put the naked eye. They are scooting along.
Ineos. It's all about the wind shift. Now, where's this next shift? If it stays in the right, PRADA gains. If it comes back a little left, then Ineos gains.
Down. Turn it. Little lighter on exit. Okay. Okay, going forward there. My wheel. My edge. Okay, here it comes. Little rebuild coming here, left 32. Last on and 2. Here we go. Here it is. Here we go.
Pressure, more pressure behind.
No lower, no lower, no lower.
Jibe.
Yeah.
I mean, the best light for this whole entire cup cycle is how close these boats are in speed. Nobody's running away with any of this. You make a mistake, you lose. You don't make a mistake, you win. That's all we can ask for as fans of the sport.
So they jibe before the ley line to the bottom mark by the looks of that, which means they trying to both boats do a left turn at the bottom here. I see what's going on. Oh, maybe they have got in. But it's just so risky. If you let the boat behind split, it's a good chance that Ineos could get back into this. So, see how this plays out.
Pull the jibe. Pull the jibe.
Yeah, they're going to jibe in. Line in here on PRADA.
They're trying to stay in phase. Smart move, that.
Pull forward. Okay, good.
Okay, stand by in 3. 3, easy. 2, 1, coming up.
Luna Rossa, PRADA Pirelli around the bottom gate. Gate mark number 4. The advantage at the top was 19 seconds, but you know Ineos Team UK have picked up 9 seconds. It's now down to 10 seconds.
He just pulled off a phenomenal maneuver, a brutally hard maneuver, and got themselves out of phase right away.
So in that case, Luna Rossa spent a bit of their lead, gave up a few seconds or 100 metres or so to get in phase, but Ben instantly got out of phase regardless. So he's going to get aggressive up this wind, and just it's a balance between wind shifts, wind strength, and getting out of phase with that other boat. They're gapping forward at the moment, aren't they? Great manoeuvre though at the bottom mark, wasn't it?
Perfect, beautiful. This is a team that a few weeks ago couldn't tack or jibe. I mean, it's really, really phenomenal.
Pressure has been off. If you want. Yeah, copy. Just going to make sure not too fast here.
Boat speed's pretty similar, Stephen. Both around 35 knots upwind.
Looking at the positioning of the boats on this race course, the penultimate leg, 5 of 6, and really there's nothing in this.
There's
nothing in this.
There's nothing in it. I mean, it's absolutely amazing.
A lot of chat coming off the boats, isn't there? You can tell the intensity by how much chat there is.
That's good. Trim up, we go to boundary.
That
Trim
weird
out,
mark maneuver
on the wind.
absolutely worked for Ainsley to get him right back in the game.
Nice.
Shirley, I think it's time to go down to you. What do you see with the wind? Is Ben Ainsley heading the right way right now? Is he going to retake the lead here?
I think we're in phase at the moment. Copy that. Yeah.
Oh, Nathan, you can hear from the comms on board. It's really difficult to tell. You know, normally as a sailor, you can tell if the breeze coming, if it's going to be left to right, but it's really difficult. There's a lot of cloud action. There's just a lot going on, and it's pretty hard. I think just looking at the pace, we're right underneath Ineos now. Ineos are fast to me, but they look slightly lower, not quite as high as PRADA, but really difficult day.
So I'm really surprised, Nathan, that Luna Rossa did not tack on top of Ineos. I think they're a little gun shy from those 2 bad tacks on the first leg, and they didn't tack in close quarters right on top of Ineos because they could have forced them right back into a short-sided racetrack.
Yeah, exactly. If you tack directly in front of them, you're in good shape. But right now, I can hear right-hand shift.
If our numbers are right.
Jimmy thinks that they're not going to cross. So Ineos are going to roll into attack here, and I think Ineos are going to go behind them.
I'm really surprised. That last tack, they're going to really think of as a big mistake by PRADA not tacking right in front of Ineos. It gives Ineos the lead again.
Little reload here.
Nice riding here.
Left here.
It's just all about being in phase with these wind shifts. We know Auckland is super shifty. We've been talking about it for an hour and a half before this race began. Tacticians race, it's all about getting in phase. And if you're fast, it doesn't, you know, if Ineos are low and fast, but you're on the shift, then that's great.
Maybe a left just working down the shoreline there. Yeah.
So potential lead change in the offing again. Luna Rossa had a 10-second lead at the completion of leg number 4. But have they been outsailed again on this final upwind leg by Ineos Team UK, who, if they win this one and then complete the go start, will go directly to the PRADA Cup final.
Let's hear them come into this top mark.
Set up, crossing. My pitch. Not there yet, on the box. 2, 1, more down. Okay, again. Standing. Clear cross here if we want it. Okay. My wheel. Your wheel. Going straight here.
Still not much in it though, Nathan. Just across.
My wheel. Your wheel. Main on. Yeah.
Just start the barrel away. Start the barrel away for me.
Yeah.
You're bearing away in 3, 2, 1, down.
My wheel.
Your wheel.
Ineos Team UK, Luna Rossa, PRADA Pirelli. Nothing in it. Absolutely nothing in it. Split gates and away we go. Final leg of race 2, round robin number 3. Who do these fans want to win? It'll be split. But wow.
He jibes.
Main on.
They had to jibe there. Obviously, there's a right shift on the race course. They're both going in the right direction right now with regards to wind shifts. PRADA had to jibe right away. They were coming up in the boundary, so clearly a big right shift there at the end.
Doesn't look that great inside at the moment.
So the big question is now is, have they positioned themselves in the best pressure? Giles Scott said he's got a good letdown. Maybe PRADA have got the better of the pressure right now, and Ineos are actually sailing up and out of it. You know, I think Ineos, when they jibe, they're going to come on starboard. If PRADA make this cross,
okay, that's the zone.
It's another lead change. The question will be, does PRADA match the jibe, or do they allow the split further down this race?
If they stay on, if they stay in phase here, get across, then they will at least have starboard tack advantage coming back toward the end. This is crucial right now.
Hold your breath. Key cross coming.
Ineos just getting across the starboard stage.
Pressure better for him, but I think if we jibe, we'll get rolled, so we've just got to stay this way.
Copy. What do you think? What do you think of the pressure here?
We have put pressure on our side.
Pressure's all right here.
So good split then.
Both boats are green. Pressure is better on the left-hand side of the track as we're looking downwind. So PRADA are probably going to better pressure right now. Giles said he wanted to jibe, but if I jibe, I get rolled. It's going to get tighter and closer as we get to the bottom here, I think.
15 and then it's right.
Yeah, we're going to jibe soon here.
Your trap.
Stand by. 2, 1.
Oh, wait.
Remember, folks, this is the last leg. This is the finish. These guys are coming into this bottom finish line. This is it.
Yeah, let's remind you.
Okay, on the box.
Luna Rossa, PRADA Pirelli need to win this race to stay alive in the hopes of finishing top of the round-robin series.
Okay, so neither boat's laying here. Ineos have just jibed. I think they are potentially laying the finishing line. PRADA have starboard advantage, but they need one more jibe to come here.
Yep.
This is going to be tight.
They got to get at them. They have to get them on starboard. I think they're in trouble on PRADA.
Pressure increasing.
Performance here.
Ineos sneaks across the bow. Are they going to get there?
Down. Go out.
Starboard.
They're trying to set them up on a port starboard.
Protest.
Go. Here we go. Let's put it in the hands of the jury. I think that was a bit of a Hollywood. No penalty on board. No penalty.
And that hands the race to Ineos there.
Ineos Team UK heading towards the finish line in race 2 of round robin number 3 and cross the line.
Okay, come on! All right, guys, calm down.
And that is an enormous win because all they have to do now is complete a ghost race start and they go through to the PRADA Cup final.
What a race.
The Hollywood done by Jimmy Spithill to try to convince the judges that it was a port starboard. They did not, the umpires did not fall for it, and I think they made the right call, and Ineos goes on to win the race.
Luna Rossa, PRADA Pirelli crossed the line 33 seconds behind after at one stage leading by 19 seconds.
They didn't really have any other options there. If they didn't get a piece of them on starboard, they were going to lose the race. So you may as well try and put in the umpire's hand at that point. But what a race. What a race we just saw.
Nice, mate. Well done.
This is it. This last cross is going to be it, Nathan, wasn't it? Port starboard, PRADA on starboard. They start bearing off and bearing off and bearing off. They're trying to convince the umpires this is a port starboard. Oh, there's the Hollywood. Oh, that's the big SIG. And you know what? Richard Slater and company, they did not fall for it. They determined that Ineos just got across clean, and that pretty much determined the race.
Confirmation of this result. Round robin 3, race number 2. Ineos Team UK with the win by 33 seconds against Luna Rossa, PRADA Pirelli.